up, guys? Today, we're gonna see just how big the entire universe is. By the end, we're gonna feel tiny. The distance light in a vacuum travels in 1 Planck time. Okay, so I think that's like the universal measurement. I guess that's like the tiniest thing that we're able to observe is something called a Planck length and a Planck particle. So it kind of almost looks like a universe in and of itself. This is the size of an average human must be compressed into to become a black hole. Okay. This is a neutron. So we're still at like the atomic level. We're not into space yet. We're not into like Earth or Jupiter or Mars or the Milky Way galaxy. So those are still atoms. Actually, sorry, they were smaller than atoms. This is an atom. And look how much bigger it is than the actual neutrons. That is an iron atom. A deficiency of iron in blood can cause anomia, if you didn't know. That is something called a buckyball. It's the same shape as a football. DNA. Wow, dude. And it looks so big compared to the last thing, which is crazy. Carbon nanotube. Oh gosh, this is like a science class today. That is a parvovirus. That's a virus. That's bad. Bacteriophage. Okay. A mycoplasma genitalium. That is okay, all right. We're getting a little bit bigger here. That is a Mimi virus. That thing is huge. I don't like that. That is a red blood cell. It looks like a giant compared to the viruses. That is a white blood cell. That thing, dude, look at the hairs on it. It's got a bunch of like tentacles. That is the thickness of paper. We are nowhere near the size of a universe yet. That is a human egg. Wait, oh, okay. I was very confused. I get it now. That's human hair, which is super tiny. What is this? A grain of salt. That is just one Minecraft cube of salt. You can't even see that with your eyeballs. You have to look at everything that we've seen so far in this video under a microscope. That is a British penny. Okay, that's probably like the first thing that we can actually see in real life with our eyeballs. A grasshopper, a 6-legged insect that inhabits meadows and fields, if you didn't know. An Amazonian parrot, predominantly green, apparently. A computer monitor. What does that say? Charles Lee, Thomas Cornway. These men take your name and take it through the mud. My name's been through a lot. I can take it. Well, I don't have your name. I don't have your titles. That's Hamilton. They got Hamilton in the back. Oh, that's funny. Defined as the distance traveled by light in a perfect vacuum. Okay, that was the last thing. This is a protoceratops. A dinosaur, I guess? That is a human person. That is us. That is me. Okay, what is that? The largest species of ammonite? That thing was bigger than people. A gigantoraptor. Yo, these dinosaurs are crazy big. Okay, that thing looks like a pterodactyl. An allosaurus. It's like a baby version of a T-Rex. The Cardotaurus. That thing is deadly. The Gigantosaurus. That's my favorite. My favorite dinosaur of all time, the Gigantosaurus. The Argentinosaurus. I think it's one of the biggest dinosaurs of all time. The Hubble Space Telescope is bigger than all of the dinosaurs. I did not know that it was that big. Blue whale. The biggest creature to ever exist on planet Earth. And it's still nowhere near as big as the Boeing 747. The Antonov AN-255 Maria. The International Space Station is huge. Wow, dude, I don't think I ever saw a size comparison. Hyperion, the tallest tree in the world. I want to see that one day. The Hindenburg-class airship. That is super big. That makes, like, blue whales look tiny. The USS Gerald R. Ford. That is a literal ship that can float. I don't understand how it floats. It's crazy to me. The Empire State Building. All right, we're starting to get into things that I know about here. The Burj Khalifa. The tallest building in the entire world. Other than the Jeddah Tower. The tallest building in the entire world. All right, we're moving into actual space stuff. There's a meteor crater, 1.2 kilometers deep. The Large Hadron Collider. A particle accelerator? They built that thing? That is huge. The tallest mountain on Earth is Mount Everest, but it's nowhere near as big as the Mariana Trench. Chicxulub, that's what caused the mass extinction of the dinosaurs, I'm pretty sure. And then you have something called the Crab Pulsar. It is a relatively young star. And then there's a black hole, XTE. Who names these? I feel like AI named everything in space. Marathon, a race. Oh, that's how far a race is. Wait a second. That's insane, dude. Rhode Island, 75 kilometers. We watch the only known moon of Neptune. This is, what is this? Complex Organics. That's a moon. I think this is an asteroid. The largest asteroid in the solar system. If that thing crashed into Earth, we'd all be dead. It's almost as big as the entirety of the UK. Ceres is a dwarf planet orbiting the asteroid belt. Sedna is a wildly eccentric orbit coming close. Wait. Hold on, go back to that. It's coming in close as 80 times or 85 times the Earth-Sun distance. Wow. That means it's gotten pretty close to us. Madagascar is 1,600 kilometers. Charon, second dwarf planet in the Pluto-Charon binary system. It is about half the size of Pluto. Then you have Triton, which is the biggest, most dominant moon of Neptune. Europa, which is orbiting Jupiter, these are huge. That's our moon right there. So far we've gone from a literal neutron all the way up to our moon. And we have a long ways to go. That's like such a tiny scope of how big our universe is. That's like literally like a speck on my pinky of how big the universe can get. Okay, that's our first planet, Mercury. At least in our solar system. There's Titan right there. The only moon to have a substantial atmosphere, so we could potentially live on it one day if we figure out how to make it livable and terraform. A hypothetical planet that collided with Earth 4.5 billion years ago? I didn't even know about that. How did I not know about this? We collided with another planet. What is that? A black hole near the galactic center. What is this? TRAPPIST-LE, the most promising habitable planets known. And it's only 40 light years away from Earth, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we have no idea how to travel at light speed. So until we do that, until Elon Musk figures that out, we're kind of trapped here. It's kind of funny that its name is TRAPPIST. And that is Earth. That's our home. And that's Kepler 45-2b, which is 1,400 light years from planet Earth. And it's also another promising planet of maybe something that we could live on one day. Millions and millions, maybe even like a billion years in the future when we figure out how to get there. That is a white dwarf, which used to be a sun. That is Neptune. Neptune is so much bigger than Earth. Uranus. What is Gliese? It is the first hot Neptune to be discovered. Oh, wow. The Minecraft world. That's insane, dude. They have a Java Minecraft world, which I didn't even realize was bigger than some planets. That's crazy that we made something bigger than planets. Saturn. Wow, dude. These planets are so much bigger than Earth. They make Earth look like a tiny little like rubber bouncy ball. And it's like a giant basketball. Wow, twice Jupiter's radius. WASP 17b. The moon's orbit is a little bit bigger than that ginormous planet. What is this? Proxima Centauri. That's a sun, and that is an incredibly rare Wolf Riot star. But it's nowhere near the size of our sun. Look at our sun, and then you can barely just see Earth down there. Earth is so tiny. I'm pretty sure you could fit like thousands and thousands of Earths inside of our sun. So before we keep going with the video, I need to tell you guys about my brand new cookie plushies. They're super cute, squishy, and probably the softest plushie ever created. They're so soft. I love them. We have the OG chocolate chip cookie, the sprinkle cookie, and my personal favorite, the zombie cookie. If you guys are watching on a TV, grab your phone or your mom's phone or your grandma's phone and scan this QR code right here. Go ahead, I'll wait. Or you guys could head right on over to BeckBroJack.co. Okay, you guys got it? Let's get back to the video. Just like the sheer size of things in our universe makes me scared a little bit, but also like I like it. However, I am terrified by it. Like it's cool to think about. It's almost, I mean, it is just like science fiction. Like it doesn't even feel real because you can't really like see it, but you can kind of see it. You can look at the moon, you can look at the sun and you're like, hey, they're there. But then it's like, what? It's actually real. Like it is something floating in space. Space is just something that's like floating in our universe. And it's just like so grand. And it's so weird to think that we are just so tiny in this huge universe. What are we looking at here? What is this? This is 2 stars that are orbiting each other. What? And at this point, it's like, you can't even fathom how big these things are. That is Sagittarius A, which is the black hole at the center of our galaxy. The graphics around that look so cool. That is Earth's orbit of the sun. What is that, a ring system? What? I don't even understand what a ring system is, but it looks beautiful. Pistol star. Blue hypergiant star. What is that? The 10th brightest star in the night sky. It has the 2nd largest angular size of any star. That thing looks like a spicy meatball. Dude. Whoa, bigger spicy meatball. That used to be the world's largest star that we know about. That is the current largest star. You can't even see our sun anymore. Our sun is so tiny that you cannot see it on the screen. And that means that the Earth was already tiny when the sun was the biggest thing on the screen. And now it's dwarfed by this ginormous meatball. Wow. Okay, that's Neptune's orbit. Now we're just getting into orbits. What is that? A hypothetical star that existed in the early universe containing a black hole at its core. I actually saw a really cool video about this, that there's stars that were so big that they would actually collapse in on themselves so that there was a black hole in the center of the star, and then it would be too big to absorb all of the star. So you would have like the outer part of the sun would pretty much just still be the sun, but in the middle would be a black hole that would like slowly eat it up until it would eventually collapse in on itself in a giant supernova. And it just sounds so cool. Obviously, if that happened, we'd all die, but it's cool to think about. That is one light day. That's how far we would have to travel. And what is this? Currently the largest black hole known, with a mass 66 billion times that of the sun. And that is the distance the sun currently travels in a century. That's like, we are floating through space. We are moving, what is that, 725, is that million, billion? That's why I am too dumb to be watching this video. We are traveling so much in space every single day, every single week, every single year, century. Like, we're just floating. Everything is just floating around. It's so scary, but it's so cool. What is this? Arp Major. One of the most distant globular clusters in the Milky Way's galactic halo. That is one light year. That is how far light travels in a year. What? The Oort cloud. A theoretical cloud of planetesimals orbiting the sun at distances ranging from 2,000 to 100,000 AU. I don't even know what AU means. 1 parsec. A distance unit based on the distance from the Earth to the sun. Distance from the sun to Proxima Centauri. What is that? The Pillars of Creation. A nebula formation inside the Eagle Nebula. The Bubble Nebula. Oh my goodness, dude. We're getting too far out. We're getting way too far out right now. What is this? Distance to what? Toy 799D was the first Earth-sized planet found in the habitable zone of its parent star. That's how far it is? 101 light years away? That's the first time we found a planet that was in the habitable zone of their star, which means that like it could have conditions similar to that of Earth, where we have like an atmosphere, we have water, we have like the best conditions for life to form. It's so far away, bro. Omega Centauri, the largest globular cluster in the Milky Way. That is the distance to the red supergiant. We're gonna stay far away from that. That is a small magellanic cloud. That is a large magellanic cloud. Oh my gosh, we're moving out into galaxies. This is the distance to other galaxies. And there are so many. The Milky Way is one of the bigger ones, it looks like. The Sombrero Galaxy. Hoag's object is bigger. Hey, look at that. Look how tiny the Milky Way galaxy looks in comparison to the Andromeda galaxy. Like, it just like, there's always a bigger fish in space. Like, the fish is a galaxy. Botanical galaxy. Wow, it looks so cool. Distance Earth has orbited the sun. Okay, all right, I'm actually pretty proud of Earth for being able to orbit the sun that much. It's orbited the sun 450,000 light years. Distance to the Andromeda galaxy, that's pretty darn far. What is that? The galaxy is abnormally large, containing 100 trillion stars. The Milky Way just has 200 billion. That other galaxy that we've seen has 100 trillion stars. I have no words! And this is just our group. The local group contains the Milky Way, the Andromeda, the Triangulum galaxy, as well as at least 80 dwarf galaxies. So the amount of planets in our universe is like, literally, you look up into the night sky and you see stars. There's little planets, like literally around probably each one of those stars. And that's only what we can see. There's more that we can't even see. And that's just in our local group. And you can keep zooming out from our local group. Like, look at that. There's just a void of a bunch of different galaxies. What are we even looking at? Ooh, the super void. There's a super cluster. We're inside of that, the PC-Cetus supercluster. There's the Great Wall. It's like the edge of the observable universe. And then there's 1 billion parsecs. And there's the Hubble Deep Field. It's an area so small that contains only a few Milky Way stars, but 3,000 ancient galaxies. There's like 3,000 galaxies. And then this is it. Our observable universe. That's it. That's like as far as we can look. That's actually crazy to think that we're able to look, what is that, 93 like billion light years into space. Just using telescopes, using stuff that we made on Earth. We're able to know all of this information just from our little planet that is like smaller than the tip of a pin comparatively to everything in the universe. And it also could just extend further and further and further. We could literally, it's almost like Horton Hears a Who. Like, we could be such a tiny little speck. We could be like the size of an atom in like just our entire observable universe. We could be the size of a little tiny atom, and then there could be more and more and more and more. Like, we could be the size of the thing at the beginning of the video. The, what is it? Not the parsec, but like the piece of measurement. That was the tiniest thing, the Planck length. We could be the size of a Planck length in comparison to everything else that we don't know about. And it's constantly expanding. At least that we can tell. And it just keeps going. And it just keeps going. I feel so tiny right now.
Guys, my brain kind of hurts. I did not realize the universe was that big.
We need to go to something a little bit less big. So this time, we're gonna check out how deep the ocean actually is. It can't be that deep, right?
The ocean is really deep.
Yes,
Deeper,
it is.
In fact, than most of us realize. If you were to shave off all of the land from the tops of every continent and island in the world and fill up the ocean's deepest points with that land, then the entire Earth would be covered in an ocean 2 miles deep.
Is that real? Are you kidding me right now? So you're telling me that if we just Minecraft mined up every single block on planet Earth and we shoved it into every single trench that's underwater, like if we filled up the Mariana Trench, for instance, which is 7 miles deep, by the way, that we would all be 2 miles under the surface of the sea? That is insane.
3/4 of our planet is already covered in water, though, and it
I learned
goes
that
a
in
lot
science.
deeper than just 2 miles. Let's start with a sense of scale. This dot right here is the size of an average human.
That's
this
me.
slightly larger dot is the size of an elephant.
That's
and
my roommate.
This is the size of the largest ship ever built.
Okay, I love how they're just so zoomed out to show how big the ocean is compared to these little things. Like, that's a human, that's an elephant, and they have the biggest ship on planet Earth just chilling at the top of the ocean, and it looks tiny. Like, it is only covering up a small percentage of the screen right now, and the rest of the screen is only a small percentage of the actual ocean.
Knock Nevis. With that in mind, let's start going underwater and see what we find out.
Okay.
The first milestone is at 40 meters below the surface, which is the maximum depth allowed for recreational scuba diving. A little further down at 93 meters is where the wreck of the Lusitania was discovered, which is interesting because the Lusitania itself is 240 meters long, which means that it sank in water shallower than it is long, so if the ship was standing on its stern or bow, it would be sticking out of the water. Just slightly deeper than that at 100 meters is where diving can become seriously fatal if you're not careful because of decompression sickness. But that didn't stop a man named Herbert Nitsch to accomplish the free diving world record at a depth of 214 meters.
Are you kidding me? This guy, this absolute legend of a man, went past double the point where you're not supposed to go. 100 meters is already like super deep, but he decided, no, I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to go 150 meters. I'm going to go 200 meters. I'm going to go 214 meters. A blue whale could have came out of nowhere and joned him. He literally could have got eaten by a blue whale.
This guy swam down to this level with just one single breath. But a little further down at 332 meters, we have the scuba diving world record, which was accomplished by another man named Ahmed Gabir. If he had swam down another 111 meters, then he would have reached the height of the Empire State Building if it was submerged underwater. And a little further than that, at 500 meters below the surface, we arrive at the maximum dive depth of blue whales.
Okay, a blue whale, like literally the biggest creature on planet Earth, can only go down 500 meters. That should be the limit of the ocean. That's where the sand should be. Nothing should be able to go deeper than that. If the biggest animal on planet Earth can't go down past that, other creatures should not be able to go past that.
Largest creatures on the planet and also the limit of the US Seawolf class nuclear submarine. At 535 meters, we can witness the maximum dive depth of emperor penguins, and this is when we must bring up the intensity of water pressure. At this level below the surface, the water pressure exerted on a person or the penguins would be roughly equivalent to a polar bear standing on a quarter.
What does that even mean? A polar bear standing on a quarter? Is that just like, so if I was the size of a quarter and I guess like a polar bear was standing on top of me, like that's probably what it means. That level of weight on like such a tiny object would be extremely painful. I don't know why they use that analogy because it's kind of weird. Nobody will ever understand what it's like for a polar bear to stand on a quarter, but I'm guessing it's probably the same as a Tyrannosaurus Rex standing on an average sized human being.
So further down the depths at 830 meters would be the height of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the tallest building in the world. Once we hit 1,000 meters below the surface, we begin to enter the scary zone. Light from the surface can no longer reach beyond this point, so the rest of the ocean below is shrouded in permanent darkness. On top of that, the water pressure you would experience at this point would be about the same as if you were standing on the surface of the planet Venus, meaning that you would die very quickly. You would also meet the giant squid at this sea level if the water...
Not only is the pressure going to kill you, but like if you're down there, let's say in a submarine, you could come across one of the weirdest creatures that they literally used to write novels about. Like they used to talk about this thing like it was fake. This thing would literally like destroy ships. They've made movies about this thing, and you can find it 1,000 meters below the surface of the ocean.
Water pressure didn't already kill you. At 1,280 meters, we reach the maximum depth dived to by the leatherback sea turtle, and further down at 1,828 meters, we would reach the deepest part of the Grand Canyon were it to be underwater with us.
Wow.
Down at 2,000 meters, we start to encounter some of the more terrifying sea creatures, like the ominously named black dragonfish, a carnivorous beast with a stomach that doesn't allow light to be emitted through it. Meaning that since we're in total darkness underwater at this point, the only way you would ever see this thing is with a...
Oh! Alright, that thing is horrible. That thing is like nightmare fuel. I thought it was maybe an anglerfish, but no. Its eye is the only thing that lights up. The rest of it is just in pure darkness, and it literally has teeth that looks like it went to the store and bought vampire teeth. That is horrible.
A flashlight. A little further down at 2,250 meters, we would reach the maximum depth dived to by both sperm whales and the very frightening colossal squid. Sperm whales often have sucker marks and scars left on their bodies from battles with the colossal squid that likely take place at these incredible depths.
You're telling me that these two giant beasts are battling at 2,250 meters in pure darkness, by the way. They can't see a thing, and they're just duking it out. They're just fighting each other. The squid is grabbing onto the whale. The whale's doing whatever it does. I don't even know what sperm whales do, but they're just down there just battling. And we have no idea.
The squids themselves can grow to be 14 meters long and weigh up to 750 kilograms with eyes the size of a dinner plate and razor-sharp sickles in the middle of their tentacles.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, good luck with that down there. Way further down at 3,800 meters, we can find the wreck of the RMS Titanic. And a bit past that, at 4,000 meters, we start to enter the abyssal zone of the ocean. Water pressure is at an astonishing 11,000 pounds per square inch down here, and there are numerous strange, almost alien-like creatures that inhabit these depths, such as the fangtooth, anglerfish, and viperfish.
So it seems like the theme is that the deeper you go into the ocean, the scarier the creatures get. Because, I mean, if you saw any 3 of these in, like, let's say your friend's dad's aquarium, you would probably run home screaming that they had a mythical beast inside of their aquarium. These things don't look like they're from this world. Like, the deeper you go into the ocean, the more alien the creatures get.
267 meters is the average depth of the ocean where you would normally expect to hit the floor, but there are parts of the ocean that go significantly deeper than even this. At 4,791 meters rests the wreckage of the battleship Bismarck sunk during World War II, and way down at 6,000 meters is the beginning of the Hadal Zone, named after the underworld Hades itself.
They literally named it after one of probably the worst places that you could think of.
The water pressure down at these depths can become 1,100 times what you would experience way back on top at the surface, which is roughly equal to an elephant balancing on a postage stamp or a single person carrying the weight of 50 Boeing 747 jumbo jets.
That's insane. Yeah, water pressure is kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, it's literally like you are carrying all of the water that's above you. Like, it doesn't really make sense in my mind, and I don't think it ever will. But the fact that being that deep in the ocean is equivalent to 50 giant planes being on top of you, it just doesn't make sense.
Down at these depths, you would be crushed immediately without any outside protection, but life still exists down here in various strange forms.
How?
At 6,500 meters, we reach the maximum depth that the DSV Alvin can dive to, a popular research submarine that helped to discover the Titanic. Way further down at 8,848 meters below the surface, and we have arrived at the height of Mount Everest, where to be upside down and placed underwater. And then way further past even that, at 10,898 meters, we arrive at the depth reached by James Cameron in 2012 during the Deep Sea Challenger mission. The deepest point in the ocean yet reached by humans was back in 1960, though, when 2 men named Don Walsh and Jacques Piccard reached a depth of 10,916 meters using their Trieste submarine.
That's so close. Look at that. Like, James Cameron in 2012 is probably punching the air right now, because he was what? He was like 18 meters away from being like in the record book as traveling the deepest in the ocean. Like, at that point, I don't know why they just didn't go deeper. I'm sure that it's extremely dangerous, but you gotta risk it, right? Like, you gotta go for that Guinness World Record.
It took them 5 hours to descend through the ocean to this depth, and they only stayed for 20 minutes before a window cracked and they began to resurface.
That would be horrifying, dude. Imagine if you're in a submarine and a window cracks. Like, what do? Do you just get some glue and you just start going crazy? I would personally grab some duct tape and then just cover up the window. I obviously wouldn't do anything, you know, I know that, but like, still, for peace of mind, I just wouldn't want to see it.
Just a bit further down from there at 10,972 meters, and we reach the average flight altitude of a commercial airliner. So if you've ever looked out of a window while on a flight and looked down to the ground, that's a very good sense of how incredibly deep down into the abyss that we are currently at.
I don't want to think about it.
When we hit 10,994 meters, we have hit the bottom of the known ocean called the Challenger Deep, right here on this map, just about 300 kilometers southwest of Guam Island. However, it is believed that there are almost certainly even deeper parts of the ocean than this that just haven't been discovered yet. It wasn't until 1997, after all, that the Sirena Deep was discovered with a depth of 10,732 meters, making it the second deepest known point in the ocean. It is estimated that only about 5% of the ocean's floor has been accurately mapped, leaving the other 95% to be currently a mystery.
If that's how big the ocean is, what would happen if we drained it? Well, let's find out.
According to my rough calculations, if an aircraft carrier sank and got stuck against the drain, the pressure would be enough to easily fold it up and suck it through.
Okay, so that's a black hole drain.
Where's the other end of this portal? I've always put it directly above the Mars Curiosity rover.
I like it.
That way, it can finally find incontrovertible evidence of liquid water on Mars'
It's
surface.
genius,
So
guys.
what's back on Earth when the portal opens? Not much. It would take hundreds of thousands of years for the ocean to drain. Even though the opening is wider than a basketball court, and the water is being forced through at incredible speeds, the oceans are huge. the water level would drop by much less than a centimeter per day.
That's
There
not
wouldn't
too
even be
much.
a cool whirlpool on the surface because the opening is just too small and the ocean is too deep.
Let's make it
But let's
bigger.
suppose we speed up the draining by opening more or bigger drains at the bottom of the
Add drains, add whale filter.
Here's how the world looks at the start, and here's the map after the oceans drop 50 meters.
Okay.
Pretty similar, but
Yeah.
there are a few small changes. Great Britain, Sri Lanka, New Guinea, Java, and Borneo are all now connected to their neighbors. And after 2,000 years of trying to hold back the sea, the Netherlands is finally high and dry.
The Netherlands are gonna be so excited when they see this video.
Some of the dikes they built would now be holding in the sea rather than holding it out. As world experts on reclaiming land from the ocean, now that they're no longer preparing for the constant threat of a cataclysmic flood, they could turn their energy outward, expanding onto the newly revealed sea floor.
Same with
When the sea
Venice.
level reaches minus 100 meters, the Black Sea stops shrinking because it's no longer connected to the ocean. As the water level
Oh.
falls, more and more basins get cut off from
I actually didn't even think about that there would be like, you know, it's your own separate like lakes or ponds or like things that aren't connected to the ocean, because usually you think, oh, water is eventually going to connect to like some sort of bigger body of water that connects all the way to the ocean, but there's actually a lot that don't. So they would technically not get drained.
drain in the Pacific. Depending on the details of the sea floor in each basin and the exact speed of draining, the outflow of water might carve a deeper channel, allowing it to flow
Whoa.
longer, but most basins will at some point become landlocked and stop draining.
So we're not going to
Like
lose
200
all of the
meters
water.
Sea level fall, the map is really starting to look weird. New islands are appearing. Indonesia's a big blob. The Netherlands now controls much of Europe.
Hawaii's going to be
500 meters,
massive.
Japan becomes a causeway that connects the Korean peninsula with Russia. New Zealand gains new islands. The Netherlands expands north. After the top kilometer of the oceans have drained, the Arctic Ocean becomes cut off and its water level stops falling.
Really?
New Zealand, which appropriately was named after a province in the Netherlands, continues to grow dramatically. Meanwhile, the Old Zealanders cross the land bridge into North America. When the sea is dropped by 2 kilometers, we see new islands popping up left and right.
That's a
The
lot of new
Caribbean and Gulf
islands.
Mexico lose their connections with the Atlantic.
Whoa.
I don't even know what New Zealand is doing. I don't think New Zealand knows either.
This is actually really interesting to even think about, because we know the different like depths of most of the world. We've mapped it out. We know like how tall places are and, you know, how below sea level that they go. So we have the topographical maps of the entire world. So we can technically calculate what would happen if the water did start dropping and what pieces of land would eventually start to show up, which are all of these islands. And then obviously you have the normal giant continents that are just getting bigger and bigger. It looks like they're eating a bunch of Big Macs from McDonald's and they're just slowly gaining mass.
But it's in keeping with its Dutch namesake. At 3 kilometers, many of the peaks of the mid-ocean ridge, which is the world's largest mountain range, break the surface. Vast swaths of rugged new land emerge and prepare to be overrun by Dutch engineers.
They're gonna
5
take
kilometers,
over.
Most of the major oceans have become disconnected and stopped draining. The exact locations and sizes of the various inland seas are hard to predict, but by this point, New Zealand and Old Zealand are almost certainly reunited.
It's not even like the entire world is slowly becoming Pangea, which is like the supercontinent that was around during the time of the dinosaurs, where all of the continents were pretty much just like smushed together. It's not even like that. It's way weirder in the fact that like most of the ocean, especially on the left side of the screen, you can see a lot of that, that should be ocean, but now it's all land, which is super weird.
When the drain finally empties, there is a surprising amount of water left, although a lot of it consists of very shallow seas with a few trenches where the water might be as deep as 4 or 5 kilometers. Vacuuming up so much of the ocean would massively alter the climate and ecosystems in ways that are hard to predict.
Poor
At the
whales.
very least, it would almost certainly involve a collapse of the biosphere and mass extinctions at every level. But it's possible, if unlikely, that humans could manage to survive. The Dutch are, after all, famous for engineering their way out of natural disasters.
Everything becomes New Amsterdam. That's so funny that we're just assuming that the Netherlands would take over the world because they're used to dealing with this problem, so they will become the world geniuses. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what would happen if the entire world had its oceans drained. But now we're going to check out, what if we teleported all of that water to Mars?
Previous What If, we opened a portal at the bottom of the Mariana Trench and we let the oceans drain out. For fun, we drained them to Mars. The Curiosity rover is working so hard to find evidence of liquid water, so I figured we could make things easier.
We had to help it
There's a
out.
lot of water currently on Mars. The problem is
Frozen.
frozen. Liquid water doesn't last long there because Mars is too cold and there's too little air. Before we inundated Curiosity, its temperature sensors recorded air and ground temperatures ranging daily between minus 100 degrees and 0 degrees Celsius, with the ground occasionally getting a bit above freezing. Here's the phase diagram for water, and this line represents the average atmospheric pressure on Mars, which by coincidence almost perfectly intersects the triple point of water. It's technically possible for liquid water to exist on Mars at the very lowest elevations on warm days, since low elevations have higher atmospheric pressures, but on most of Mars's surface, water either stays frozen or sublimates directly from water ice to water vapor.
So I'd be kind of curious, because most of the ocean is salt water, which I believe has a higher freezing point, would we be able to still see the oceans on Mars?
But the oceans we're dumping onto Mars wouldn't freeze solid anytime soon. We're dumping a lot of water very fast, and Mars isn't that cold. The average temperatures at the North Pole on Earth range from minus 30 to 0 degrees Celsius, and only the top layer of water freezes, because
that is true.
A decent insulator. Plus, the oceans are salt water, and salt makes it slightly harder for water to freeze. Here's an elevation map of Mars. Currently, Curiosity is sitting
Matt Damon.
a round depression in the Martian surface with a peak, nicknamed Mount Sharp, in the center. We're dumping a lot of water very fast, which will start to turn Gale Crater into a lake, just like it would on Earth. As the flow continues, the lake fills in, burying Curiosity under hundreds of meters of water.
Sorry, Curiosity, but you found water.
And below at the same time, because the Martian surface is also below freezing.
Oh.
Rocks and soil would almost certainly become frozen together into ice dirt chunks that break free and float up to the surface.
I never really thought about that the surface would be so cold that it would basically be like a big ice cube, and it would freeze actually some of the ocean water, not only on the top, but the area touching the actual surface.
Hold up, ladies and gentlemen. Did you guys get your cookie plushie yet? Because if you guys didn't check them out yet, make sure you guys scan this QR code right here. Or you guys can head over to BeckBroJack.co. You guys are definitely gonna wanna go quick, because my brother Dirt Boy already bought 300 of them from the last time that I saw you. So if you guys want one, you should go get one. Back to the video.
Like icebergs. Eventually, Mount Sharp becomes an island surrounded by ice-covered water. However, before the peak can disappear completely, the water spills over the north rim of the crater and starts flowing out across the sand. The water flows downhill to the north and pools in the North Polar Basin, while a layer of sea ice and rockbergs forms on top. When this kind of water release happens on Mars in real life, the trickle of water quickly freezes and sublimates before it can get very far. However, we've got a lot of ocean ice.
We do.
Gradually, the water will fill the North Polar Basin, covering the defunct Phoenix and Viking landers, unless they also get caught in freezing ice and lifted up to float on the surface.
I also don't even know if we thought about this, but Mars is a lot smaller than Earth, and a lot of Earth is the ocean. And I know that we're not technically deleting all of the ocean. We're just kind of doing the points that are below and that lead to the Mariana Trench and go all the way down to that drain that we created in the last video. But yeah, would it cover like most of the surface of Mars if we just literally just unleashed the entire ocean on the planet?
If we look at the rest of Mars, we'll see there's still a lot of land far from the water. I'm a big fan of maps. I've spent a lot of time drawing them and just looking at them over the years. And I have to say, I think this one's kind of boring. It's just this big empty swath of land with some ocean on top. Luckily for us, if not for Mars, we haven't come close to running out of ocean yet.
Good.
At this point, the water fills
We
in
could
the
keep
Valles
going.
Marineris, creating these unusual coastlines here.
Matt Damon is
The water
underwater
ice
now.
reach the other Mars landers, carrying them south. Eventually, the flow breaks through into the Hellas impact crater, the basin covering the lowest point on Mars.
Guys, it's starting to happen. Look, all of this area is now filling up with water. All of Mars might become the new Neptune.
And Perseverance is likely destroyed in the ensuing ice rock waterfall. In my opinion, the rest of the map is starting to look pretty good. Like, check out that crinkly coastline. Like, this is a nice map. This is the kind of map where if it were in the front of a fantasy novel, I would spend a lot of time looking at it and trying to decide where, like, my kingdom would be. The swath of land in the southern hemisphere splits into several large islands and innumerable smaller ones, and also looks very nice. Just A+. Excellent map. The water quickly finishes covering most of the high southern plateaus, leaving only a few islands left. And then, at last, the flow stops. The oceans back on Earth are drained, and the rovers all have water damage and are now probably out of water.
Oh my god, dude,
Olympus Mons and a few other volcanoes are still above water, and they aren't even close to being covered. Olympus Mons still rises well over 10 kilometers above the new sea level. The oceans on Mars would last a very long time. The surface of Mars is...
Dude, look at... Okay, so this is what I was wondering. So this is Mars before the flood. It's mostly land. You still have some of your, like, random ice polar caps, but then... after we flood Mars with the entirety of the ocean, it's an entire ocean planet now. Look at that. And like there's only like 4 little islands left over.
Already at least 2% ice by weight, and that ice gradually gets transported to the poles by sublimation and atmospheric circulation, but it's an incredibly slow process. We're covering the planet with an enormous amount of ice-topped water. The ice would get thicker and thicker as the water below it cooled, and eventually the oceans would freeze solid. The surface would very gradually sublimate away to the poles, and if the ice had picked up enough dirt and rocks, they would be revealed and collect on top, like how dirt collects on top of a melting snowbank, until perhaps eventually the equatorial regions of Mars would become a dusty, rocky surface atop a bedrock of ice. Except maybe none of this would happen. Water is a potent greenhouse gas, and with so much new water available to evaporate into the atmosphere, maybe Mars would warm up and the oceans would remain liquid as they are here on Earth.
It would take some time, but it could happen.
Guys, I really do not want that to happen. Like, I thought it would be cool, but now I'm realizing that would be the end of planet Earth. And it got me thinking, what other scary things might happen? So we're gonna be watching 10 scary things that could happen in the universe.
Space junk. As it turns out, our planet is not the only thing we treat like a giant trash can, since space is slowly becoming a giant landfill as well. There are currently millions of pieces of man-made junk
There's
in
a
Earth's
cat.
orbit, with over 30,000 of them being over 10 centimeters long, or around 4 inches. Now, the reason why this is so scary is that the number of junk is only growing.
And it would be super scary too, because doesn't this stuff eventually come back down to Earth? Like, why wouldn't we send it in a rocket ship that goes way further than Earth's atmosphere? Why wouldn't we send it, you know, like all the way into the moon or like into somewhere like Uranus or something? Why is it like right in the orbit? Because especially too, there's things that are valuable in the orbit. There's satellites, there's the International Space Station, there is that guy that jumped out of the plane and then he became the world's first skydiver from outer space. There's important things out there.
But this really shouldn't worry you, since I'm sure we'll eventually get around to cleaning it, which usually only happens when it becomes a big enough problem that our government is forced to do something about it.
Yeah,
You
good
see,
luck
the
with
growing
that.
amounts of space junk are becoming a major problem for space exploration and travel, and NASA has already had to course correct 32 times since 1999 to avoid satellites and space debris. Now,
See?
you're probably thinking, this is an issue that you will never have to worry about, since you never leave the house, let alone plan on
yeah.
traveling to space.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
as it turns out, the space debris might just come to you.
See?
There have been many reports of large pieces of metal, spaceships, and satellites.
Okay, guys, I know for a fact that somebody's commenting like, oh, but the space stuff will just burn in orbit. Not everything burns in the orbit. Literally, there's stuff that has come down from outer space that we thought would never come back, and it does. It does, and it doesn't burn in our atmosphere, and it comes crashing down. So when it comes through your house into your basement, and you have your Taki-covered Cheeto hands, what are you going to say then?
Landing on people's property and homes. But I'm sure the majority of the pieces go unreported, since they most likely land in the ocean.
Yeah,
where
that
they
makes
blend
sense.
in with the rest of the trash.
Yeah, true.
Number 9, cosmic voids. As we leave Earth's orbit and begin to look further out into the universe, we quickly begin to discover all sorts of terrifying things. But before we get to those, I want to focus on nothing. I literally mean nothing. You see, there are vast spaces in the universe that don't contain anything at all. No planets, no stars, no moons, no McDonald's, no asteroids.
That's the majority of the universe, I'm pretty sure, has nothing. And some scientists believe that the nothing out there is actually like dark matter, and there is energy to be harvested, but we don't know how, and we don't know if that's an actual fact. But yeah, it's kind of like if you go into the ocean. Most of the ocean has nothing. It's just water. But the actual universe also just has a whole lot of nothing.
Nothing. These empty spaces are known as cosmic voids, and in some cases, they can be hundreds of millions of light years in diameter. This would create a long and lonely space trip for anything that decides to journey across
So
them.
sad.
Unless, of course, you were blessed with being an introvert, since we are completely immune to this weakness.
Yes,
Now, I know
there's
these
the
large
Cheetos.
numbers are very hard to grasp, so let me just show you what this all looks like. Here's an illustration of the Virgo supercluster, which contains around 100,000 galaxies, including our home, the Milky Way. Now let's zoom out and take a look at the areas here.
Okay, guys, first off, this blows my mind. The fact that what we're looking at now is our universe, literally. Like, this is where we live. We are literally not even 1 pixel of the screen that you're looking at is Earth, or even our galaxy. There are ginormous clusters of trillions and trillions of planets and suns and stars and all of these things out there. And then look at these voids. The voids are sometimes bigger than the superclusters, and scientists are saying there's nothing there.
These are cosmic voids. This particular one here is called
The Booty's Void.
And is one of the largest voids in the known universe, spanning around 330 million light years wide.
That's a big booty.
For perspective, the entire Milky Way galaxy, which is home to at least 100 billion planets, is 100,000 light years wide. Number 8,
that sounds
dead
tiny.
Galaxies. Dead galaxies are galaxies that have run out of cold hydrogen gas, which is necessary to fuel stars and create new ones. These dead galaxies will be the first to become completely dark and lifeless, leaving behind a cold and lonely cemetery. But for now, these galaxies appear red as they burn through their last remaining energy that they will ever have.
So yeah, that's something else that is kind of crazy to think about, is that the stuff that we see now is essentially like we're looking into the past of the universe, because light, even though it travels super fast for us from, billions and billions and trillions of light years away, it takes a while to travel. So the light that we see coming from deep parts of outer space is actually really old. And the stuff that was sending off this light, the giant suns and the stars and the supernovas and the quasars, all of these giant balls of gas and light, these might actually be burnt out and gone now, because it's been, billions and trillions of years since the light has traveled and actually hit us on planet Earth.
Now let's get to the terrifying part. All galaxies, including our own, will eventually run out of energy, and it's hypothesized that the entire universe eventually will as well. A stage that is referred to as the Dark Era, and it's speculated to be the final state of the universe.
And then what happens?
Behind a cold and dark universe where light and energy
is that going to be me?
Exist. Number 7, planets. NASA estimates that there are at least 100 billion planets in the Milky Way galaxy alone, and over 6 sextillion planets in the observable universe.
That's like more sand on planet Earth.
Not that it even matters, since none of us could even come close to comprehending that. So instead,
let me try
to visualize this by saying that there are more planets in the known universe than grains of sand on Earth. And for those of you that have never been to the beach,
work.
Take it from someone who has. We still can't comprehend this number either. Now, we don't have to...
Yeah, so it feels like there's infinite sand when you go to the beach, which I've been to a beach, guys. I touch grass sometimes. But yeah, so you go to the beach and then you look at the sand and you're like, wow, that's a lot of sand. But you never think like, oh my gosh, there's actually more planets than the sand that I'm looking at the beach? That doesn't make any sense. That's like literally... if you took all of the sand from planet Earth, you shot it into outer space, and then you made it grow like 100 billion times as big as it currently is. And that's how many planets there might be.
Look forward to find some truly terrifying planets, since we have a few of them here in our own solar system. But let's just take a look at the scariest one, Jupiter. This planet is an absolute nightmare.
It eats
and
everything.
Scary enough to just look at. Jupiter's a giant gas planet that is 1,300 times larger than Earth and is covered in violent storms, as I'm sure you already know. But really quickly, here are just a few of the ways Jupiter would absolutely mop the floor with you. Radiation exposure, dead. Atmospheric pressure, dead. 400 plus mile per hour winds, dead. Struck by lightning, dead. You overheat, dead. You freeze, dead. You decide to breathe, dead. But if Jupiter's not scary enough, our galaxy has many other horrific planets to choose from.
It's
like
true.
Planets that constantly rain molten iron or molten glass. Planets that are entirely covered in ice. Planets that are entirely covered in lava. Planets that are entirely covered in water. Planets that are just completely dark. Planets with giant hurricanes the size of Earth. Nope, that's just Jupiter again. I told you that place sucks. Number 6, aliens. Ever since we were young, Hollywood has conditioned us to be scared of aliens. So it's no surprise that this one would end up on the list.
Well, guys, okay, so here's my theory, and it's not my theory, but it's other theories that other people smarter than me have had about aliens. The one that I like is that there are most likely, like there's a 99% chance that there are aliens, or there's a 99% chance that there's not aliens. And a lot of people think that there are, obviously. But the thing is, if there are aliens, then that means that they've probably seen us. Like they probably know that we exist, or they are not as evolved as us, which is pretty unlikely considering there are so many different planets. And there's so many planets that are like planet Earth, where we're kind of in the Goldilocks zone of, the space between the sun and, the orbit of where we are. There's this zone where like life can kind of exist. And we're in a pretty good spot, obviously, which is why Earth has so much life. And there's tons of planets out there that are pretty similar to Earth, and they probably have life. But the theory that I like the most is that other planets just aren't as evolved as Earth, which kind of makes sense. That's why we haven't really seen any evidence of other alien life, because they're probably in a different stage of their evolution. Like they're probably still stuck at single-celled organisms where there's tiny little microbes swimming around a giant pool of water, and they're not evolved enough to be able to communicate with us on Earth. And the scary part is, if they are, then they're probably going to attack us. Most things are not friendly, especially humans. Humans are not very friendly creatures. Even though we seem friendly, if something tries to hurt us, we're going to fight back. And then it's not going to end well for us, I don't think.
Movies like Alien, Signs, Predator, Cloverfield, The Thing, and of course The Goat, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Classic.
All made aliens incredibly violent and terrifying. And when Hollywood finally attempted to create a friendly and relatable alien, all they got right was his body type. And it definitely worked. Scientists say that it's only a matter of time until we find the existence of aliens. But here's the thing, right? An alien or an extraterrestrial being is simply just something that is living that didn't originate on Earth. So this could be something as small as bacteria, but if we're lucky, it could be a fish or mammal-like creature. But of course, this could be something infinitely more terrifying. And that's what makes this one so scary. We really don't know what's out there. Now, thankfully, we all know that first impressions are everything. So I'm hopeful that aliens will just take a quick look at Earth's orbit and decide not to visit.
Exactly.
We're obviously very dirty.
Right.
Number 5, gamma ray bursts. Gamma ray bursts are the most powerful explosions in the known universe, releasing more energy in a second than the sun would in a billion years. This can occur a few different ways, either when a star goes supernova, when two neutron stars collide and form a black hole, or when a black hole swallows a neutron star. These massive bursts of energy are 1,000,000 trillion times brighter than the sun and could last anywhere from 10 milliseconds to several hours. Now here's what makes them so scary. The light produced can't be seen by the naked eye. So if Earth were to be hit by one of these powerful gamma ray bursts, we would never see it coming.
That is so terrifyingly scary. That is the worst possible thing that I can personally think of, other than a black hole coming around and then just swallowing up our entire galaxy, is the fact that we can't see this because we can't recognize the level of light, the ultraviolet light that this thing would give off. So imagine you're literally just outside doing your thing and then boom, it's over. Like everything just gets burned.
And depending on how close the source of the gamma ray burst is, it would determine if life on Earth would survive. At a distance of 6,000 light years, it would cause mass extinction due to the deadly amounts of radiation. But if the gamma ray burst occurred further away but still managed to get a direct hit on us, it could still be catastrophic, since it would heavily damage all of our satellites and technology, shutting down the Wi-Fi.
No.
Now, thankfully, Earth is not really in danger of such an event, since our sun is far too small to produce this type of explosion. Instead, our sun will just grow so large that it slowly swallows the entire planet.
Yep.
Number 4, colliding galaxies. With billions of galaxies traveling through the universe, some are bound to bump into one another.
And eventually, this is going to happen. I think it's the Andromeda Galaxy is going to collide with us, the Milky Way Galaxy, and then just like imagine you have like 10 bajillion marbles and you have another 10 bajillion marbles and then you send them at each other at light speed. Just imagine that. Everything's gonna explode.
As a matter of fact, our galaxy will be one of them. The Milky Way is scheduled to crash into our neighboring galaxy, the Andromeda Galaxy. But that collision won't be for another 4 to 5 billion years.
We're safe,
Hopefully
guys.
long after humans have left Earth and populated other planets. But let's talk about what makes colliding galaxies so scary. As the two galaxies begin to get close to one another, their gravitational pull will bring them together. Now, surprisingly, planets crashing into one another would be extremely rare, since galaxies are mostly empty space. But what would happen is planets would be rearranged and shuffled around, knocking them away from their current solar systems and creating new ones. So any planet with life on it might be stuck with a new neighbor. Here are a few galaxies that are currently merging as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Number 3, supernovas. Supernovas are the largest explosions that humans have ever seen. They can outshine their entire galaxy for a few days or even months, and can be seen across the universe. A supernova can occur a couple of different ways. The first one is when a massive star runs out of nuclear fuel and collapses, causing it to go supernova.
Explode.
The second is when a white dwarf star gains enough mass by siphoning it from another nearby star, causing it to collapse and explode. But let's talk about what makes supernovas so scary. When a star goes supernova, it obliterates everything in its path and is powerful enough to destroy all life on any planet within 30 to 50 light years.
That's
For perspective,
insane!
Our sun is only about 4.2 light hours away from our furthest planet, Neptune. Even though supernovas are one of the most deadly events in the known universe, easily obliterating every living thing in their way, at least they make great screensavers. Number 2, black holes.
Oh,
Black
here we
holes
go,
are
guys.
Easily one of the
I honestly thought black holes would be number 1, but maybe number 1 is a quasar?
most terrifying things in the known universe. It's mostly due to the fact that we don't fully understand how they work. But here's what we do know. There are 2 different types. The first one is called a stellar mass black hole and is roughly 3 to 1,000 times the mass of our sun. These are created when a large star goes supernova and collapses in on itself, creating a black hole. The second type is a supermassive black hole and can be millions to billions of times the mass of our sun.
And I'm pretty sure the big supermassive black hole can be created by giant stars exploding, but I also think too that it's when black holes pretty much play Agario, where they have one black hole and there's another black hole and then they just eat each other. Like literally the bigger one eats the smaller one and then it just gets bigger.
Also, we have no idea how these black holes are formed. And when I say we, I mean I couldn't find an answer using Google, got frustrated, and just came to the conclusion that the answer simply doesn't exist. But the most common theory I kept seeing is that a black hole must have swallowed another black hole, making it grow much larger.
Yeah, that's what they think.
I learned while scripting this video, it's that astronomers and astrophysicists never give a simple answer to anything, so them resorting to the classic answer of, you eat, you grow, is quite comical. Since I know firsthand, that is not always the case. But with that out of the way, let's talk about what makes black holes so terrifying. Well, for starters, one of these supermassive black holes sits right at the center of our galaxy.
Yup. So in the center of, I'm pretty sure every single galaxy is a supermassive black hole. And that's what keeps the galaxy together because it has such a big gravitational pull and everything around it just kind of stays near the black hole.
Gobbling up pieces of the Milky Way as we speak. Another reason why they're so creepy is simply for the fact that they are completely invisible. As I'm sure you know, this is because black holes have a force of gravity so strong that nothing can escape it, not even light. So the only way we can see where they are in the universe is by seeing how they interact with their surroundings. But the biggest reason why black holes are so high on the list is simply because we don't know what would happen if you were to enter one. Are they just wormholes? Or would you just get stretched out like a giant piece of spaghetti? I'm not kidding, that's the most agreed upon theory. They call it spaghettification. Or could it be a portal to an alternate dimension?
I really hope that one day, if this does ever happen, that we won't even notice, that it'll just be like, oh, cool, we're in a new dimension. And maybe we see some new stars, or maybe like a galaxy in the sky. I really hope nothing bad happens.
We really don't know. Either way, all of these are absolutely terrifying. Number 1, the size of the universe. Hands down, the most terrifying thing about the universe is its size. Just allow me to present my case. Does this image scare you?
No.
What about now?
A little bit, yeah.
Let me show you a few more illustrations before I rest my case.
Okay.
For simplicity's sake, let's start at ground level. This is you. You're probably in your room.
Yeah, that's me.
Your
yeah,
room is in your home.
Yeah.
Your
okay.
home is here on Earth.
Okay, we're getting a little
Earth's
bigger.
home is in our solar system.
All right.
Which has 8 planets.
Stop zooming
our
out.
solar system is part of the solar interstellar neighborhood.
Stop zooming.
Which is part of the Milky Way galaxy. Also home to at least 100 billion other planets.
Okay, imagine the universe was this big. That alone would be pretty terrifying if you're like, okay, we are literally a tiny little pixel on this map of the Milky Way galaxy. That alone, pretty terrifying. But as everybody watching this video knows, that's not even the start of it.
The Milky Way galaxy is part of the local galactic group, which is home to 3 other galaxies. The 3 galaxies are all inside of the Virgo supercluster, which has hundreds of galaxies and galaxy clusters. The Virgo supercluster is part of the local superclusters. The local superclusters sit right at the center of the entire observable universe.
It's insane.
Which spans 93 billion light years wide.
And guys, I don't know if you caught this, but the key word there is observable. That's the only thing that our telescopes are actually able to see. It could be bigger.
But it doesn't end there. This is just what we can see with the current technology we have. And we have no idea how much larger the universe is or if there's even an end to it. But of course, this doesn't stop us from speculating on its size or
That's me every time I look up. I'm like, I'm in a supercluster.
what could potentially be out there. Are there alien civilizations far more advanced than ours? Or alternate realities with infinite possibilities?
There has to
Or
be,
maybe
right?
we're all just plugged into a computer, a simulation.
Some people think that.
After all, would this not be the best time in our known history to simulate? Or maybe Earth is flat and just like birds, space is not real, so none of this really matters. I guess in the end, it turns out that the scariest thing about the universe is not really up in space, but instead lives here inside of our imaginations.
Oh, look at that. It's such a cute little fish. It's not that cute anymore. I lied. These things are kind of weird. That guy is scuba diving. You probably do.
Oh, okay. I know that these aren't real, but still, stuff like that exists in the ocean. Like, there's always a bigger fish. Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the ocean anymore. I like swimming pools where you can see the bottom. Oh goodness, dude. There's a giant eyeball. There's a giant eyeball. It's not real. All you have to do is just tell yourself that it's not real. Look at that, a swimming pool. Oh my god, why? Why are people making these animations? Oh my gosh, wait, okay, this is like somebody is maybe schizophrenic. They're seeing things that aren't there. Okay, these are really good. These are definitely enacting my thalassophobia. It's not real. I actually really like the shark tunnels at aquariums where you walk through and you can see all the fish. But dude, imagine if you just saw that. Okay, I am terrified of like being out in the ocean by myself, especially where you can't see any land. Like I don't even really like being on boats that much because you just can't see anything other than like what you're actually on. You can only see the boat, and if you're in the ocean too, this is why I don't go scuba diving, because what if that happened? The chances are very slim, but anything could happen out in the ocean. The ocean is basically an alien planet. Okay, there's a shark. That is terrifying. I've been on a surfboard, and luckily I've never had this experience where I've seen sharks. That is a person. That is so creepy. So obviously, if you guys didn't know, thalassophobia is basically just the fear of the ocean. And, you know, these animations make it a lot easier to be scared of the ocean because they are featuring insane creatures that are not real. Like this, I don't think that's real. There's, you know, a giant octopus that's in the ocean, but that's not an octopus, okay? That's basically a kraken. There are giant jellyfish, too. The ocean doesn't make sense in my mind. I don't like to think about it that much because if I think about it super long, I get nervous and I get sweaty. And you guys don't want to see that. That's why I'm wearing a black shirt, because I'm very sweaty right now. Whoa. Holy smokes. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Is that the bloop? Oh no, wait, it kind of has the body of like a seal. What? Oh
Oh my goodness. The reason I'm actually making this video is because I saw this in my YouTube recommended. And that just kind of got me thinking that I would show you guys thalassophobia. Oh, gosh. Look how big that is. I also recently learned that a leviathan is basically a giant underwater creature that we really don't know what it is. Okay, that wasn't that bad. As long as it doesn't come back and jump scares me, I'm okay with it. What other animations are there that are gonna creep me out? I really don't want to keep my eyes open. Why is there a human head? Why is there a human head? Okay. See, I'm okay with those because I know that they're not real. This, on the other hand, could be real. There are giant sharks in the ocean. But see, this isn't that bad because I can see the bottom. Like, if I can see the sand, I'm okay with it. I really don't get scared about the giant creatures. I'm more so scared of looking down into an abyss that I can't see the end of. Like this. That is terrifying. Ooh, okay, I thought it was gonna pop up again. I like this one. We're high up above the ocean. As long as we don't go down into the ocean. This is okay. That is a face. Oh, I didn't like the way it looked at me. Oh, we're back to this guy. Hey, how's it going? Just don't go underwater. Just stay above the water. Maybe swim back to the shore. I don't like it. Gosh, dude. I don't like seeing things that are above the surface of the water, then they go under, and then you can't see them anymore because they're basically invisible. All right, dude. At this point, you probably are dead. Oh, there's more. You can make a whole horror movie about thalassophobia. Wait, is that a flying whale? I think I died and I went to heaven. Oh, I don't like the human heads under the water. That was Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Okay, this is fine. This is totally fine. See, we can see! Alright, that's not even thalassophobia. This is just like a horror movie. It's not even bad. I'm not scared of the ocean from these. I'm more so just scared of, like, the people that made this. Who thought of this and why? Also nighttime and the ocean. If you combine those two together, I don't think there's anything scarier. Being in the ocean at night, I mean, it's cool and it's fun sometimes if you're doing it with friends. However, if you're stuck in the middle of the ocean during the day, it's a lot better than being stuck in the middle of the ocean at night, because night makes everything more terrifying. And you can't see. I just hate the idea of not being able to see things. I have to see it so that I know what's coming after me. Oh, wow. Wow. Imagine you're in a helicopter. Oh my gosh, and something comes and eats you. What is it? What is it? Are they gonna kiss? No, they're not. They're definitely not gonna kiss. Oh, that's a shark. That is a big boy shark. Ew. Oh my gosh, it's Ant-Man without his suit. That's gross. Oh, it's gone. No, it's not. Some of these are really strange. Like, they shouldn't be possible. I don't understand why are the whales able to fly? Okay, all right, I get it. It disappeared, okay. All right, hey! You're ugly! You're ugly! Stay away from me! Ew, that is a baby! Why is there a baby? Oh, okay, that's a big eyeball. I don't like these animations, but I'm watching them for you guys. They are really cool. However, they're creeping me out right now, and I'm definitely gonna wake up with a nightmare tonight. I'm gonna wake up in a cold sweat. I'm gonna need cookies. I'm definitely eating cookies after this video. I don't feel comfy right now. Okay, there's gonna be another fish behind it. Oh, there's gonna be another fish behind. Oh, I knew it. I flippin' knew it. Ooh, this one's in VR. 360 VR, terrifying sea creatures. All right, we're looking around. I can see the bottom. I'm okay when I can see the bottom. Oh, that's a shark in the distance. Stay away from me. I got a gun. I definitely have a weapon. I'll click off this video and I'll delete you. so far so good. Oh, okay. This is okay. This is fine. I'm fine because I know that it's a... Is that Kyogre? That is Kyogre in the distance. This honestly isn't really giving me like a thalassophobia feel. I don't feel super terrified right now. Some of the other videos that we've watched were a lot scarier. Especially because they did not have Pokemon. But look, like when you can't see in the distance, that's what creeps me out. It gives me the EBGBs. That's the thalassophobia feeling that I think most people that actually have thalassophobia probably feel. Just like the fear of not knowing what's coming or what's out there. Okay, also, I am slightly claustrophobic, so we're starting to get into a different phobia. A phobia of close, tight spaces. I don't really like it when I, like, have my body against things and, like, I'm in a tight room. I don't understand the people that go into caves and, like, can't move their body unless they wiggle like an earthworm. Those people to me are absolutely insane. Whoa. I do want to at one point see a blue whale in the ocean. I'm very conflicted because it seems like it's so cool, and I have been out in like the deep ocean, but as long as I'm with other people, I feel okay. Like I'm not super scared if there's other people, but if it's just me in the ocean, I can't see anybody else there. Like there needs to be at least 30 people in the water for me to get in. That's the only way I'm gonna know that it's safe. Because look, down below, there's practically nothing. The ocean is so deep that sunlight just like stops traveling that low. That part creeps me out. Oh, there's a creature down here. I see the shadow of a creature. It's the Loch Ness Mommyosaurus. Okay, all right, we're way too deep. We're way too deep. Okay, what else is down here? You gotta keep your head on a swivel when you're in the ocean. That is one of the other things that I'm scared about, is that you are basically... See, look, I wasn't even looking the right way.
A small taste of what you can
We got eaten alive by something. Where did it even come from? No, came from that way, Okay, I'm gonna look. It came from the right. Okay, I think it was the thing that... Where was it coming from? Seriously. I just want to see it. Is it this way? Oh, okay, yeah, it's right there. That is the thing that ate me alive. That is gonna wrap it up for this video about thalassophobia. I am sweaty. I'm gonna go take a shower.